I see a path. I'm not saying it's an easy path, but I see a path for Tesla being the most valuable company in the world by far, not even close. There is a path where Tesla is worth more than the next top 5 companies combined. There's a path to that.
A path.
What path to being a
A path of exile? Singer. That was bad, but I'm owning it. Hi there folks, Jack here. Today I come to you as a certified unapologetic hater because there is a phenomenon right now that is beyond belief. A company that has been crashing out harder than any other in history. At least to my knowledge. I'm talking about a company led by none other than the man formerly known as Elon Musk. The man who is living the meme.
I am become meme.
Dark MAGA himself, the Chainsaw Man, and the head of Tesla. You have got to be a special type of person to get the whole wild world to side against you. When even your die-hard fans, your favorite Redditors, your, pardon my French, but biggest glazers no longer want to lick your boots, but instead want you to get the out of their business because you're just being way too intrusive. And that's just what Elon has been doing as of late. I, for example, did commit a cardinal sin. See, I have on my phone the Audible app because that is one of the ways to which I try to consume books, and I happened to realize that I did not cancel my membership because we got like a different plan recently, but no need for that clarification. So in there I had 3 credits left for the last 3 months, and so instead of buying what I was supposed to buy, which was a Warhammer book, because I have not been congruent with the Warhammer law as of late, so I'm literally committing heresy, I went on to buy the biography of Elon Musk. It's like a 20-hour read or listen, and it is eye-opening because I want to say this, okay? I sincerely, as a parent myself, want to sympathize with this man. Yes, I said it. Learning about his life, I really would want to sympathize with him. But he makes it so hard not to look at every single instances of his behavior and see it as like a projection of all the bad things that has happened to him onto his companies, onto his family, and especially now onto the rest of the freaking world.
I am generally not a slave owner, but okay.
This man is a menace, and hopefully to this video here by Atrioc, who is this YouTuber who knows a lot about finances, we can get to the bottom of what is causing this entire crash out.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Marketing Monday. The scenes from around the country are stark. 44 wheels stolen from Teslas in a parking lot in Texas. Superchargers set on fire in Massachusetts. Protesters arrested out front of a Tesla dealership in New York. Mass protests and boycotts in front of a Tesla dealership in Georgia. Red paint smeared across a Tesla dealership in Berkeley. Shots fired at a Tesla dealership in Oregon. Swastikas painted on cars in Europe. All of these scenes add up to a pretty insane picture of Tesla's current standing. But just a few months ago, we were in an entirely different place. I take you back to December 12th, 2024. Elon.
Oof. The company was at its peak.
Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, was on top of the world. Wearing his dark MAGA hat, hands up to the crowd, he was feeling incredible after only a few months earlier tweeting that he is not donating money to either candidate for president. He switched up rather quickly and became a huge supporter of Donald Trump to the tune of around $300 million. And because of that, he was deeply enmeshed in the administration when Donald Trump won the election, thus making him, in the days after the election,
oh my God, the contrast between the
administration when Donald Trump won the election.
Donald's son, like, I don't know what's the deal with this guy. Like, I wouldn't want to be in a family full of so many narcissists, but he has like the look of somebody who just has to put on that front, who is like forced to be the person he is and not his own man because, yeah, you got to keep appearances. Like, it is sad Obviously, there are some people around the entourage that are benefiting. A lot of people that are benefiting for this whole presidency. But like, what do you get as a kid? Just bad attention? You get mocked by the people around you. Sometimes you get praised for stuff that you don't even care about. It has got to suck to be embroiled in all of that. But yeah, what the hell do I know? I don't know the kid, but I hope he's doing all right.
Thus making him, in the days after the election, $200 billion richer. By December 12th, about a month after the election, his net worth topped $400 billion, which, if you don't know, makes him the richest man in human history.
Bro, that's richer than Mansa Musa. You know, the 9th king of Mali, who was supposed to be the richest man in history. Shit.
I'm not exaggerating. Mansa Musa, who you might bring up, but even with the best estimation, had 400 billion. John D. Rockefeller, the first billionaire, had at his peak wealth 1.5% of the US GDP.
Shit.
Insanely wealthy. At this day, December 12th, Elon Musk had 1.6. He was richer than every man that has ever lived. Not even in the fictional world. Forbes puts out a Forbes list called the Fictional 15 and estimates the wealth of fictional characters like Scrooge McDuck. Elon.
Wait, what the f? Artemis Fowl, Jock Bass, the Tooth Fairy? What? Bruce Wayne, obviously that makes sense. Tony Stark, yeah, slightly higher. But bro beat Scrooge McDuck. Jesus.
Elon Musk on December 12th had more money than all of these fictional characters combined. More money than Tony Stark, Scrooge McDuck, Bruce Wayne, the Tooth Fairy. It's a level of wealth, again, that is really hard to wrap your mind around. And he was feeling pretty damn good about it. He had the political power, the insider connections, the wealth, all of his companies were up. And in the past 3 months, something of a car crash happened. Tesla stock, almost inexplicably, dropped 50% since December 12th. 50%!
I mean, I would understand why the man was on top of the world. Going through his bio for himself and of course everything that we know about him, his endeavors have been on life support ever since. So it's like no surprise that once he finally see a rise of things going his way, that he would have felt pretty good about it.
In 3 months, below where it was before the election. Now this number is hard to wrap your head around, but Tesla's market cap loss, its valuation lost in this short period, is equivalent to $800 billion. And I want you to try and understand the scale of what that loss is. Tesla's losses since December 18th, 2024 are greater than the entire value of Toyota. It's like if Toyota went to zero. Is that crazy?
Bro, no amount of boosting your PE ratio is going to save this. You can't. You can't. There's no market strategy that is going to get you out of a hole like that. Jesus Christ. Double his net worth. Yikes.
No, because it's way more than that. It's Toyota plus Ferrari plus Mercedes-Benz plus VW combined, all going to zero. Is that crazy?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, especially given that Mercedes-Benz there was once the company that saved his ass.
No, because it's way more than that. Tesla's losses since December 18th are equivalent to Ford, Subaru, Mazda, Toyota, Nissan, Rivian, Honda, Ferrari, Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, Aston Martin, Hyundai, Kia, VW, GM, and BMW combined. It's as if every one of these companies went to zero in 3 months. I am not exaggerating. I'm not upplaying it. This is exactly the amount of market cap lost. And take $10 billion on top of that and light it on fire. Why? In 3 months, how could the fortunes of a company change so quickly? Some people have a very specific answer. But whether that was a Sieg Heil, a Roman salute, or it's just his heart was going out to you, I know what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
And I do.
Again, let's not downplay this shit. The people who Sieg Heiled knew what a Roman salute was, and that is why they employ that. We've talked about this on the channel before. Benito Swagolini, who borrowed his idea of fascism from the Romans, took also the inspiration of the salute from the Romans, which the Nazis took both fascism and said salute from them. America might have been slow at responding to that, but especially here in Europe, We know what that means. We know the history behind it and how that affects us. The ambiguity isn't quite there.
You know that the timing is pretty convenient in that the day that happened was basically the beginning of the losses this year. But what this presentation is going to talk about is that there is so much more rotten under the hood of this company. There is so much more worth taking a look at business-wise than just the political machinations of Elon Musk. Now,
Of course.
that being said, his reputation is falling and it is taking Tesla with it. We should start by talking about some of the politics, okay? Because there's no doubt about it. And it's a bit of a stark situation, play on words intended, because 7 years ago, it was widely accepted that Elon Musk was the real-life Iron Man.
And that's why you don't build a company based on just a person's popularity. That has been his entire shtick, his whole life. He was trying to escape the shadow of who he was, what he was born as, the father that raised him, and form himself as like this quirky, fun individual, which was actually a thing that I found to be pretty appealing about him. Like, I understand why a lot of Redditors did gravitate towards him. He had not charisma, like I don't know quite the word to use for it, but like it had a certain style of attraction to him, and maybe because also a lot of his plans and ideas were super grandiose, and for some people that can be pretty appealing. Personally for me, the whole thing about going to space and also investing in renewable technology was a thing that I found to be kind of appealing. Now, of course, I did not know the details of a lot of the ventures in the background there, but now I know, and a lot of the decisions that he makes are not that surprising anymore.
People have called you the real Tony Stark.
How are you?
Congratulations on the promotion.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I remember too.
Fantastic. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
After the
I have
race.
an electric jet.
You do?
Yeah.
Then we'll make it work.
Yeah,
You gotta be kidding me.
Big Bang Theory and SNL
You're
made him.
Elon Musk.
I am?
So let's talk about the Tesla. I have a Tesla.
Yeah.
Okay, and I love it. I love it.
Good luck, Machete.
Kenneth Fleming.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk?
Yeah.
Tesla Elon Musk?
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you sincerely trying to save the world?
Well, I'm trying to do good things, yeah. I mean.
But you're trying to do good things and you're a billionaire. I mean,
Yeah.
that seems a little bit like either superhero or supervillain.
supervillain.
You have to choose one.
It's funny, it kind of cuts up, but he paused for a long time after that question. In 2018, Jay Schlatt tweeted, "If America's gonna get another billionaire president, can it at least be Elon Musk next time?" I mean, his
shit.
reputation was, for all intents and purposes, solid gold. And then a lot of things happened. I think most of you are well aware of these things. I don't need to go too much detail, but a quick recap between 2018 and now. He called a Thai cave rescuer a pedophile for not using his submarine. He said he was gonna take Tesla private at $420 a share and funding was secured. So everybody pumped the stock to 420. Then he said, "Oops, I don't actually have the funding."
But he was freaking forced to pay for it. The same thing that he did with Twitter by making jokes about, oh, I'm gonna acquire the freaking thing, and then he was forced to pay for it, or else he would have been liable to pay like $1 billion for it.
Losing investors $12 billion, getting his Twitter account frozen briefly by the SEC. He said COVID would have 0 new cases in America by the end of April. He said his pronouns are prosecute Fauci. He said in 2021 he'd prefer to stay out of politics, then got deeply into politics, then said Trump would be too old to be president, then got super in with Trump. He said it's going to be the most awesome presidency of all time, the most fun president of all time.
Bro was flip-flopping harder than a fish out of water. He was changing his colors harder than Ariana Grande changes race.
He said he wanted to buy Twitter as a joke and then tried to back out and then was forced by a court to do it. Then once he owned Twitter, he said, "I'll abide by a poll for everything that I do, including I'll step down if I lose this poll." Then he lost the poll, then
But he
stopped
did
doing
not
polls.
step down.
And perhaps most damningly for us gamers,
Fake
he
gamer.
was caught and eventually admitted to boosting in Path of Exile and Diablo 4. Now there's
Holy shit, there's a video by Carl Jobs that dropped recently that I should also be checking out. Oh my god, there's likely even more than just this.
many more things in there. I'm just giving you a brief example of why his reputation might have taken a hit over the past 4-ish years, including the fact that Jay Schlatt 5 hours ago tweeted, "I take it back." Your opinion on each of these individual instances can vary, but the business case for it is pretty damning. There's been a backlash. Major brand worries. How toxic is Elon Musk's behavior for Tesla? Again, he's so deeply intertwined with the brand of Tesla in consumers' minds. They can't really separate Tesla and Elon Musk.
Yep.
It's creating a reputational problem for the brand, leading to declining sales and damage to Tesla globally. In every country other than China, Tesla's reputation has dropped year over year. This doesn't even include 2025 numbers. And sales data shows that even people that love their Tesla cars are starting to get sick of Musk's behavior. They're buying stickers like this. I bought this before Elon went crazy, and having quotes like this. I'm sort of embarrassed to be seen in that car now. I bought this before Elon went crazy. People are trying to signal that, hey, I don't know, I don't support necessarily all this behavior, even though I bought Tesla. Companies that compete with Tesla are even using this in their marketing. Kia put this on Instagram, I think, putting a sticker on their new car, their new EV. Quotes like this. When he stood up and made that Sieg Heil Nazi salute, something clicked in my head and I thought, I cannot drive a Tesla.
And the weirdest thing right now is that we are seeing the president advertising his stuff. Using the White House like a freaking carpool, turning the president into a salesman. Well, I guess that is just very accurate. That is the thing that he did before. But it's ridiculous. And he's trying to advertise that to whom? A conservative audience who has for the very longest time never ever cared about renewable vehicles or technology. You think that those are the people that you're going to try to sell your Tesla to? The people who already own those, or the freaking abomination that is Cybertruck, the only thing that he managed to create that kind of resembles him. An absolute hazard? That they're going to be happy about it? No! Don't be delusional.
I don't care how affordable or fun they are. None of that mattered anymore. What used to be such a glamorous statement car, to me, actually became a really repulsive one. Whether you agree with this person or not, this is a customer. When you're a business, this customer matters, and this customer adds up. Dr. Kumate here bought a gold-plated Tesla Cybertruck to advertise his business. This is a guy who was all in on the brand. Now he wants to sell it because of all the backlash. And it's partially because people are getting negative feedback from those around him. This is on Reddit and Boston. People don't want this to happen to them when they buy a Tesla car. Stickers are getting placed on cars that say, don't buy a swastika car. Now, Elon Musk will tell you that all of these protests are being astroturfed by Democratic mega donors like George Soros.
What are you saying? Didn't I just point out that he was using the White House to promote his car? Like a freaking car dealership? What are you saying?
I think sales data would show that is not necessarily the case. And even if vandalism and the protests are, I think, rightfully stopped by police, as is happening here in Chicago, people don't want to go through a police picket line to buy a car. It suddenly makes them feel some type of way about the customer purchasing experience. Ross Gerber is certainly no ally of George Soros. Ross Gerber is a longtime Tesla pumper. He made a ton of money off Tesla and used to be one of the biggest Elon shills. He's recently been saying the bare facts because he's also an investor. Tesla cannot sell its cars due to Elon's behavior. Let's stop blaming other things or interest rates. Only one person is responsible for this. And what's more important than all of this is that we are in a deeply divided country. So you may say to yourself, well, everybody he pisses off on one side, he may gain on the other side. And for some products, that might be true. But some facts about EVs make that particularly hard to believe. If you guys had to guess what 10 states bought the highest amount of EVs and where they voted in the 2020 election, I'll give you a hint. It's these 10 states and they all voted blue.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense because Reds will rather drive in a Ford F-150.
They're all pretty deeply blue. Now, if I were to tell you which states bought the least amount of EVs, it would be these 10 states, and they all voted Trump. You might be seeing a pattern. Courting Trump voters can be a fine business strategy for, I don't know, for a beer brand or something, but for an electric vehicle specifically, it's kind of a losing one because they don't want to leave gas-powered cars. The data's pretty stark on this. 55% of Republicans say there's no chance at all they consider buying any EV in the next decade. So it's an uphill battle. At the same time, they're coming into a certain time of a particularly dangerous economy. So politics aside, if Tesla was just a car company going into this 2025 year, they'd already be in trouble Because as recession fears grow, late car payments have never been this high.
That's fucking crazy. And this is the US that we're talking about right now. We're not talking about Denmark, okay? We've got insane taxes on our cars here. So in a country that where, let's say, big vehicles are rather affordable, that is of course completely relative to people's income, but affordable nonetheless. Seeing this is fucking wild.
It's the highest level since they began tracking the data. There have never been this many auto borrowers 60 days past due. People are not able to make their car payments as is, let alone able to buy brand new cars, which might explain why Tesla, in desperation, is offering 0% down, 0% APR subprime loans to try and boost demand. But the problem is, even if this increases sales in the short term, many of these won't get paid. These are very dangerous loans to be giving out to an economy of people that probably can't pay them back. This is a desperate play for growth. Most people in this car market are just waiting. Primarily want used cars, and they primarily want the prices to go down. And if they buy a used car, they want something that'll hold its value, which...
Exactly. Plus, nobody wants to work on an EV. Let me make something very clear here. I'm not out here just to hate EVs, okay? I genuinely, as I said before, I like the technology. It could go in very nice directions. I personally would like to see all classic cars get like an EV update. Not outfit them to the point that, like most modern cars today, they are just bona fide toys with a phone slap onto them and an operative system to command everything. Like, holy shit. Like the Tesla, or not the Tesla, but the Cybertruck that is running on 43 volts. For all of its components, which in comparison to normal cars, which is like 12 volt. I was about to say 12 in Danish. 12 volt. What I mean by that is that they have gotten into a market where all of their parts are very specific, that they are not easily interchangeable, which is why most people don't want to work with them. Like, for example, the average car light is like 12 volt. And modern cars today are fucking blinding everybody. I finally relate to what a deer feels like in headlights, okay? Like, I am freezing on the road when I'm seeing dude there in his Cybertruck or Tesla more or less, just driving at me with those 42 volts, flashbanging me like I was Bambi's dad. I drive a Fiat 500, just to clarify. But like, all of these things being hyper-specific for a certain car makes it so that people don't want to mess with it. They know that, sure, Tesla has done that to make sure that the copper that it can buy can be cheaper. But in exchange for that, when something breaks, you have to find parts that are way too expensive. It is not reliable. You cannot just pick up some auto parts from somewhere else at a good enough and affordable price. And then imagine now being in a situation where you cannot repair your car, but you want to get rid of it and sell it at a certain price, but you cannot even maintain its value because this shit is going on.
Down. And if they buy a used car, they want something that'll hold its value, which is exactly the opposite of what's happening with Tesla. Used car prices for Teslas are crashing, way down even compared with other EVs, which again are not doing well themselves.
No.
At the same time, if you're a regular everyday consumer in America, one of the biggest things you worry about with your car is repair costs, because losing access to your car can mean being unable to get to work. It's a massive unexplained expense.
There it is.
Repair costs for Tesla are higher than both gas cars and other EVs. And because Tesla locks down repairs and controls the entire supply chain.
5,000. Oh, Jesus Christ. Look, this is one of the reasons why, again, I do not understand the whole business right now. Like, I am so lucky. I don't have the biggest expenses in the world, so I'm just the average dude out there. And I drive, as I said again, my beloved Fiat 500. And the biggest amount that we've spent on repairing that car has been like $1,000 to get car parts. And that was mostly because there was like a brake that was set loose. And that is the only repair that we've had in the last 5 years. But like, you $5,000? What?
Top to bottom, you have to wait a long time. So there's a big problem for a regular consumer in getting a Tesla, even if you don't care about any of the politics stuff. Guess what? This might shock myself and many people in this audience, but America is not the only country in the world. Tesla sells most of its cars in these 10 countries. I'm blocking out one because we'll talk about it later. Maybe you can guess what it is.
China.
These 10 countries are primarily where Tesla makes its sales. US, Germany, France, Canada, UK, Australia, Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. Let's go through these countries. We've talked about the US already. We know what's happening there. Germany, 76% fall in sales. People are pissed about his meddling in the German elections, promoting the AfD. France, sales plunged 63%. They only had 1,000 new cars in France in January. They
doesn't
underperformed
exist
the
in
overall
Denmark.
industry and the EV segment. At the same time in France, they really don't fuck around when it comes to rioting. So they're not just having small protests in front of stores, they're lighting them on fire.
This shouldn't be a thing, okay? Let's put that out. Don't destroy a person's business. Don't destroy people's workplace. Shouldn't do that. But damn. The original rioters, okay, the French, they do not joke around when they decide to go to the streets, okay? They gave us the revolution, and they've been doing that ever since.
12 cars destroyed in arson in France. Canada, sales down 70%. Not only due to price hikes, but also loss of rebates. Rebates especially interesting because for some reason, right before the EV rebate disappeared in Canada, 4 Tesla stores reported selling 30 cars per hour. Essentially 1 car every minute, 24 hours a day for 3 straight days.
Shit.
Extremely suspicious. Because Tesla gets a kickback from the EV rebate, it's almost like they were faking sales right before the rebate ran out to get money from the Canadian government, which is exactly what Canada TV News is reporting.
For Ottawa's rebate program on electric vehicles that allegedly prompted a mad rush to buy EVs.
Sandy, a spike in purchases was to be expected, though the reported sale of 8,600 Teslas equaling $43 million in rebates at 4 Canadian Tesla locations has sparked plenty of questions.
In the west end of Toronto, this one Tesla location alone reported selling more than 1,200 vehicles on January 11th, totaling more than $4 million in rebates.
What?
I can understand that in France, they're not even selling 1,200 vehicles total in the whole month. But in this one Canadian location, they're moving 1,200 units like in a day right before the rebate closes.
So we paid them a visit to try and get some clarity on the staggering number of sales.
Oh, no. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. My name's Adrian Gabriel. I'm a journalist with CTV News.
Okay.
There was
Don't
a
want
large
to talk.
increase in the number of sales processed through the EV rebate program. Did that take place, or is that a backlog of paperwork going through? You can't share any comments?
Of course not.
Is there any manager you think that might be?
Because it kind of seems, again, this is allegedly, but it kind of seems like fraud against the Canadian government. It's also suspicious that the sales went up so much in Canada at that store, given that 71% of Canadians support a total ban on Tesla altogether.
Plus, it's not even just that. Isn't Canada the biggest investors in Starlink? Well, second biggest, of course, because United States. And if the Canadian government cuts that down...
We're going one step further. We're ripping up Ontario's contract with Starlink.
And Elon's perhaps main, like, freaking growth vehicle would be gone. Because what does he have? SpaceX that has continually been sponsored by NASA. After he keeps on making fun of the 2 astronauts that are out there just fine with no issues. None of that is going to mirror well on him at all. Jeez.
They're making a massive EV transition. They have a lot of still active subsidies. People are buying EVs hand over fist. And there is still things you can find in the UK that show that patience with him is running out. This is on the London Underground. Elon Musk's Perfume Day 1939 for wankers. Australia.
Britons don't fuck around. I fucking love them. And same with the Aussies.
Is down 81%. Sweden and Norway are down 44 and 38 year over year. They buy a ton of EVs. They're buying less Teslas. Denmark down 52% in February. So if you add all this up,
that's a genuine thing that has been going down for many years. Now, it's not necessarily because of Elon. Actually, funny enough, in my old gym, there were a lot of business owners there, but none of them were, of course, as built as I am. I'm being a dick here. But like a lot of them were always chatting about how they got the new Tesla and shit and how it was accelerating so fast because there were a lot of subsidies from that as the government were trying to urge people to convert to more green energy, right? From adding solar panels to the roofs and stuff, and then of course buying electric vehicles, where Tesla found a wonderful market there. But given that more government regulation came into play, a lot more people ended up buying less of them. And again, as I've said before, Denmark, with our taxes on cars, we don't fuck around here. It's expensive.
8 of the 9 countries we showed are down year over year. UK is up. What about that last one, though? Did anyone guess what this last country is?
China.
That's right.
China, 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 China.
It's China! Probably the most important country in the world for the future EV battle. How is Tesla doing in China?
They got their own brands, right? That are even more, that actually do have something closer to Elon's supposed self-driving. What did he call it? FSD, which is standing for full self-driving, where in reality it's more like an enhanced, somewhat like autopilot, which doesn't really do that. It's still freaking hazardous. He's been claiming that for like a decade now. All the way back in 2013, that's when he first announced that. That never came into play. Then he consulted that one, oh man, the Israeli company there. I'm calling them Israeli because they are, as far as I know, overtly, like straightforward about like, we are an Israel headquartered based company. Mobileye hired them to help dealing with the autopilot and stuff, but yeah. We're never gonna see that self-driving technology happen anytime soon.
Again, a steady source of growth for them for a long time. And it's worth noting that unlike every other country here, the people in China don't give a shit about Musk's politics.
Yep.
Survey after survey shows reputation of Tesla has not been harmed by Elon's antics. They still think he's a cool tech guy, but that doesn't matter. The truth is, disappointing sales in China, and they are down
BYD.
49%, are not because of his politics or caring about Elon at all. It's because of their narrow and dated lineup and up-to-date and more exciting offerings from BYD. Basically, they're just getting out-competed.
Yep, my parents own a BYD here in Denmark.
Tesla is flaming in China, and the rapid rise of BYD is to blame. It's not because of a Sieg Heil. They're just getting little broed by the BYD Atto 3 and the BYD Seal. And these BYD products are promising a Tesla-level car, but built for the Chinese audience at a fraction of the price and sold within country. And if only somebody exactly 5 years ago could have predicted in a Discord chat with Ludwig and Stans this very day the Shanghai Gigafactory was announced, that China was going to prop up a competitor with government money and force Tesla out eventually within the next 5 years. And exactly 5 years after this post, BYD surpassed Tesla in 2024. Once they surpassed them, they have not let go. By 2025, it's not even close. They're getting mogged in the country. At the same time, some of their future offerings about self-driving tech, well, those are getting mogged too. Because in a surprise announcement, BYD announced self-driving tech, basically the equivalent of Tesla's FSD, for free.
Yeah.
If you buy a Tesla, you have to pay an extra 8-10 grand to upgrade the self-driving. BYD rolled it out to every make and model for free. Tesla responded by trying to roll theirs out in China, but immediately users that tried it were greeted with tons of tickets.
Of course, because it's not adjusted for China. That's why. And because it's gonna be extra cost, there will be extra cost involved to convert it to the Chinese, what do you call, infrastructure. And
Tried it were greeted with tons of tickets.
And Elon doesn't want to pay for that.
This guy turned on his Tesla self-driving and got 7 tickets on one ride. It keeps driving into bike and bus lanes that it's not allowed to, and in China, the camera automatically detects it and flags you. So it's like instant punishment.
Of course.
You can't just apply the same FSD software you got from other countries in China. It has unique roads and lanes and signs. BYD has accounted for that in their self-driving because it's built for China. Sales declining in 9 out of 10 countries where it makes basically all of its sales. Politics causing backlash. Competition causing sales problems. But all of these aren't even as big of a problem as this one. Math.
Okay.
Even if none of these were happening, there would still be a problem with math. Now, thankfully, it's not going to be this math because I'm a business major. It's going to be business major math, which looks more like this.
PE ratios. Here we go.
Price-earnings ratio is essentially what a company's worth divided by how much it actually makes.
The thing that has been ruining a lot of gaming recently, the extreme layoffs that's been coming out of that, where companies have basically doing the boom and bust technique that we saw in the early 2000s. Every single time that there's a new big expansion into technology, they jump into a hype cycle. They hype a lot of people, not just the consumers, but of course the most enjoyed people out there in economics, the investors, who are gonna believe that given that your shares can be low and might give us a higher revenue in the future, we're gonna buy shit ton from you. And it doesn't really matter what they produce as long as the PE ratio is low and good enough for them to invest in. That's why companies like Amazon, successful as it is, had a PE ratio that was like in the hundreds for some time and did not really make that much money in comparison to, let's say, a car company and or a gaming company like Sega Sammy, for example. They are basically the company for Sega that make all the pachinko machines and make sure that you can go into violation with emulation from stuff. Yeah, Sega does that too. It's not just Nintendo. But yeah, essentially pushing the hype cycle as far as you can to make sure that investors are on board, and then to cushion your fallout, you just fire off a lot of people. That is the technique that Elon has been using for years, for many years to Tesla. That is one of the reasons why in every single ventures you will hear troubles about people being laid off for no reason, work discrimination and shit like that. That's why even in a case as stupid as Twitter, okay? I'm not here to defend Twitter at all. It is a hellscape of a platform. And I would understand that people would not give a damn when Elon rolled in with that freaking sink and decided to lay off a bunch of people under the pretext that they were not doing the job either way. I don't know. Could they actually have done some work of moderation? I cannot tell you for sure because I did not dive deep into it. But what I can most certainly tell you is that him hiring H-1Bs, people who are working on work visa, who are willing to overwork themselves in bad work conditions just because it's cheaper and can be laid off at any time, is part of the business. Because it doesn't matter if the product itself goes to shit as long as he has made enough money. That's what matters, because then he's gonna invest it on another venture that he likely might crash, and that stuff is going to be saved again by some government subsidies as every single other ventures of his has.
Gives you a good idea of when you as an investor will get your money back. For most car companies, like for example Ford, a PE ratio might be something like 5 to 10.
Yeah.
Pretty much saying, hey, you're not a high growth company, I'll get my money back in about 5 to 10 years. For a high growth tech company, which might grow dramatically in the next few years, you can give them a PE ratio as high as 20 to 30. Apple sits at 35. Let me help you understand
Amazon
that
was
maybe
like
not
the
all of
60
the
a
magnificent
few years
7
ago.
truly belong. Apple deserves this number because they make $96 billion in profit a year. They're one of the greatest cash-generating geysers in human history.
Yeah.
Google made $100 billion in profit last year, a 35% increase. Microsoft made $88 billion, a 21% increase. Meta made $62 billion, up from $39 billion, a big...
And because some of these actually generate revenue.
Increase. These are all cash geysers, tens of billions of dollars of profit. Amazon made $59 billion, a 94% increase. Of course they have a high PE ratio. Nvidia has the highest of them all, a PE ratio of 60, which is crazy, but they're up 144% year over year, $72 billion in profit. That's 6. What's the 7th? Tesla, last year, made $7 billion in profit, a 52% decrease. Not only are they going down in profit, but this amount isn't that much to begin with. It certainly doesn't qualify them to be up with all these trillion-dollar magnificent companies.
Exactly.
And so if we go back to our simple price earnings ratio, what it's worth divided by what it makes, Tesla's still worth $722 billion, and they made $7.13 billion. So if you do the very simple math here, you'll find out that Tesla's PE ratio is not 5 to 10, it's not 20 to 30, it's 101 still. It declined by 50% and it's still astronomically high. The level of growth expectations baked into this fairly small company is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's 101 today. And that leads me to an important question that gets asked a lot. The question is, why are we not getting rid of Elon Musk as CEO? He's causing us all this reputational damage. Why not get rid of him? We can ask ourselves, what would Tesla be worth without Elon Musk? What if it was valued like a normal car company or even like a normal tech company? Well, it turns out that math has been done in this article by Fortune. And I updated it for the new numbers, but essentially Tesla's actual valuation, if you ran the numbers normally, would be $84 billion, which means a massive portion of their valuation is just hype. It's just Elon Musk's ability to promise and promise and promise and promise and promise the future.
Exactly. He did that from the start. When you hear him talk about his company, the Zip2, right? The thing that he started his venture with his brother by with the wonderful loan of like $28,000 from their dad, which they reluctantly did. Again, this man is not self-made. They took that money, went and worked alongside another one and created what would then become PayPal. The dude was so bad at handling all of these things, okay? To an extent where the board of directors were so tired of him that they wanted to get rid of him. They had to give him a massive severance package. To the point where, imagine this, if you end up hiring Peter fucking Thiel as the replacement for somebody, then the somebody that you replace is really weird. Also, I might need to make a correction for myself here because I'm not too sure if I'm conflating Zip2 and X.com. Yes, the original X.com, that also was a company of his, with each other, but regardless of which, the money that through inflation rates can now be almost like $50,000 was the original thing that he got from their dad. And sorry, I gotta give you like a quick little interjection about the guy, because the reason as to why I said that I really want to feel sympathetic towards this guy is because his dad is a fucking monster, okay? Elon comes from a family where his granddad was a Nazi sympathizer from Canada, decided to move to South Africa because, get this, apartheid was going to be lucrative. Now raising a family down there that benefited from blood emeralds and enriched the family is already insane. But the treatment that this man went through, Elon that is insane, because his dad was abusive, a misogynist, beat his mom, beat his children, and especially carry some kind of grudge or some type of hatred against Elon, because all of these things about Elon's early life, the part that Elon cannot disguise about him being self-made and all that, is things that his father has openly made clear. This dude went after his son, wanted to make sure that everybody knew that he made him. It's fucking, like, I've never seen a parent hate the child this much. Because as a father myself, I want my child to be better, okay? I want my child to have all of the benefits in the world and I want them to thrive. I won't take credit for whatever it is that they achieve in their life, I just want them to prosper. But this dude was on demon time after his son. Because not only does he continuously try to humiliate him, a lot of his characteristics, despite him being a terrible dad, may have rubbed off on Elon because the dude makes Joe Jackson look like a saint, okay? Like South African Woody Allen over here, who has children with his stepdaughter, is... oh my god. So like, I would understand that Elon, in his youth, tried to completely sever ties from that abusive father of his, not feel related to him at all, come under the image of a self-made man, that he did not have any ties to a monster like that. Especially when your biggest hope is your own dad. Like, I don't even have a horse in this race, but I'm still getting mad. And that's may explain why, when he sees a pattern that he himself had with his own son that then disowns him, right, doesn't want to talk to him, he gets mad and starts blaming people other than himself. Because that's what his fucking father did. Like, that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying that I want to feel sympathetic for this guy. But he keeps on perpetuating the same thing that happened to him. Like, instead of seeking help, instead of going to therapy with all of the money in the world and just be a chill guy that he portrayed himself as in the start, right? He could have kept that way. No, he did not seek help. And as I said before with the case of Kanye West, okay? When you have issues, seek help, do not seek heil. Oh yeah, where was I? Wasn't I talking about the business ventures? Yes, Tesla, in the likes of these previous companies, PayPal and so on, was almost crashing. In 2008, the company was saved by the parent company of Mercedes-Benz, Daimler, who bought like 10% of the shares of Tesla and saved their asses. The same thing when, again, close to the financial crisis of 2008, Tesla was going to lose every single asset. They were going to be run on the ground and go to bankruptcy when NASA rode in. This, of course, was not to the brilliance of Elon, but more due to the help of a Michael Griffin, who became like a BFD at NASA. He was then later on appointed to like a high position by Donald Trump later on in 2016. But like Michael Griffin, through his connections, ended up making a deal with NASA and recommended SpaceX as a company that would help NASA with the orbital program, a program that was set in motion to like urge and, or at least, should we say, enlist, for a better word here, private companies to help shipping cargo to the International Space Station, as well as people, of course. That's why this dude is making a whole fuss about trying to save some astronauts that don't need any saving. And NASA's deal gave them a contract of like $396 million, which they, as of now, almost have paid off to them achieving certain hallmarks. And of course, through this contract, the company was likely safe, despite the fact that they did not at the time even have a functioning rocket. We're talking 2006 here. So between 2006 and 2008, for those of you who ever like followed the whole space venture, Tesla rockets kept on failing, at least 3 of them as far as I'm aware. And when they finally got the one successful rocket, NASA came in again, giving them another deal of $1.6 billion. That's why this dude was life was through the roof. That's why SpaceX has been such a huge thing for him.
NASA called and told us that we'd won a $1.5 billion contract. And I couldn't even hold the phone. It's like, I just blurted out, I love you guys.
They saved you.
Yeah, they did.
Financially and maybe even emotionally.
I'll tell you what, that was definitely helpful.
If this dude was standing on a figurative lifeboat, it would be government subsidies. And that's what he's been living off of. And that's why it is also so very weird where he keeps on mocking other people from wanting the help of the government and needing those resources when he has been doing that his entire life. That is so, it's weird. That's the thing about it, okay? Like, I don't necessarily care about his political affiliations because every single political party does this, okay? They have people who are gonna invest in them, that are gonna switch camps, just like we've seen with the big media companies. That's what happens. It's an unfortunate state of things, but that's unfortunately how things happen. The thing that I hate is the hypocrisy. The absolute and utter hypocrisy, and then how it ends up ruining people's lives. That's the thing that is about this, and it fucking sucks. that qualified people are currently losing their lifeblood under the pretense that of an idiot that has never truly had a successful venture.
It's hard for them to actually get rid of him, even though Tesla sales are down and they have to keep cutting prices and they're in a price war they can't win. Even though they're trying to unload inventory and it's bad news for investors. Even though their profit per vehicle continues to tank. The car company is still worth $722 billion. If it was valued normally, it would probably be closer to 84. Even Tesla employees say he's like a pigeon CEO. He comes in, shits all over us, and goes.
Yep.
But they can't get rid of him. Every dot on this chart is a tweet. You'll notice in 2022 when he bought Twitter, it gets blood red.
Like, how do you even have time? Isn't he the one who claimed to be working like 120 hours a week? How do you have time to tweet? How? And dude has like a massive family. Like, I get to occasionally like upload like what, 4 videos a week on average? And that's like a lot. And then I spend hours sometimes editing some of these things to make sure that especially some of the things that I say are backed up visually and also are factually correct, because I do care about that. But the fact that this guy would just be crashing out on his phone while he has at least 3 of the most important ventures out there is insane to me.
Even though he spends the vast majority of his day tweeting, they can't get rid of him. Because if they get rid of him, they're going to lose this much valuation from the company. Inside man or woman. The chairperson of the Tesla board, Robin Denholm, has been selling Tesla stock hand over fist. Every package she gets, she is dumping on the market because she knows this valuation cannot last.
Yep.
The Tesla CFO is selling hand over fist. Kimball Musk, Elon Musk's brother, is selling hand over fist. If you look at the insider sales of a normal tech company, let's say even a highly valued one, possibly overvalued one like Nvidia, it looks like this. Basically, there's always more sold than bought. People get paid in shares, so they sell. There's some people buying, most are selling. If you look at the insider trading, not insider trading, insider activity of Tesla shares, you'll find 0 purchases. Not a single Tesla executive is buying Tesla stock. Every single one of them is selling. Because they know that at the end of the day, the math, the raw math of what this company actually earns does not give it a 700 or $800 billion valuation, let alone a 1.5 trillion, which it had just 3 months ago. And they are making sure they get out while the market is still inflated. Now, the reality of this company is far different from that inflated expectation. And Elon Musk, as much as he might pretend not to, he knows this. He's actually said it back before he was so cautious. Back in 2020, Elon Musk said, when looking at our actual profitability, it's very low. Investors are giving us a lot of credit for future profits, but if at any point they conclude that's not going to happen, our stock will immediately get crushed like a souffle under a sledgehammer. That's 100% true. And profitability is an interesting word, because again, as they keep cutting prices to try and stay competitive and show sales growth, the profit per vehicle continues to dwindle. It looks desperate. He has also said this.
But the overwhelming focus is solving full self-driving. And that's essential. And like that's really the difference between Tesla being worth a lot of money and being worth basically 0.
That's a pretty revealing statement. I don't think he even knew how revealing that was. He is basically openly saying, if we don't solve full self-driving, and by the way, this interview is years ago, our company's essentially worthless. Now,
that's the thing that I said when I called a lot of new and modern cars bona fide toys. You're taking all the fun out of driving. Then just go to public transportation.
I think it's still worth $50, $100 billion. They sell cars. People like the cars. Some people do. But essentially 0 compared to what it was valued at the time. And that brings me to what I think is happening. People wonder the motivations between a lot of Elon's actions. Maybe some of it's the ketamine. But I think he has been quietly but steadily building an escape hatch. Let me explain why. I think he had a little bit of an idea going into government. Now, you guys may know this. Elon Musk was being hit with lawsuits and oversights and fines and complaints from a lot of government agencies. All of these institutions had something going on with Tesla's companies. Once he came into power, Doge wiped almost all these out, fired them, neutered them, shut them down in the case of some of these. He's cleared a lot of the legal problems off the plate of a lot of his companies, but still, that won't solve Tesla sales.
All the woke institutions that was hampering me from getting away from the consequences of my actions. That's insane.
He might be able to do some small things like get the Cybertruck eligible for the government EV tax credit, but for how long? Trump has not proven to be very friendly to EVs. But what other of Elon's companies might be a lot better if you had a lot of power within government? It's SpaceX. And one thing you might not know, some other math that's kind of inconvenient, is that Tesla, at an $800 billion valuation, is the biggest company Elon Musk's a part of, sure, but he only owns 12%. SpaceX, he owns 42%.
Indeed.
So if you actually do the math on Elon Musk's net worth today, he makes a lot more from SpaceX than he does from Tesla. SpaceX is actually way more important to his bottom line than it is from Tesla.
Yep.
It's now worth more than his Tesla shares. And that might be why he's more and more saying publicly that he needs a bigger pay package from Tesla. He needs more shares and more voting control. I am uncomfortable growing Tesla to be a leader in AI and robotics without having 25% voting control. I don't want to be overturned. That's why he keeps asking for a $56 billion Tesla payday. That's why, even though he's spending a ton of money on big AI data centers for Grok, he's not doing them under the Tesla banner. Grok AI is under X.AI. Tesla doesn't own it. He's been quietly, slowly but surely, getting all of his future growth stuff out of Tesla, where he has a much higher ownership percentage. And as the wheels literally come off of Tesla, he is setting himself up to still be mega rich through SpaceX. Elon Musk's Starlink under SpaceX is getting massive government contracts. They call him a walking conflict of interest. Everything he does in the government is beneficial to SpaceX, even using his government connections to talk to other foreign leaders. Again, they just got a $1.6 billion telecom security deal with Italy. This type of power with a company he controls a lot more of and is also private instead of public means that SpaceX is actually way more valuable to Elon Musk than Tesla ever was. It's also because it's private. Chinese investors can privately take stakes in his companies without having to disclose. He can hide who he's doing business with. Whereas with Tesla, it's public. With SpaceX, you can give him a ton of money for a
That's also one of the reasons why they were doing that whole bullshit of, no, he's not the leader of Doge.
favor, and it's totally off the grid, which might explain why he's been so adamant that Taiwan is a part of China, right as Chinese investors take massive private stakes in SpaceX. All of this adds up to a unique picture of a guy that seemingly is caring less and less about his baby. Well, not his actual 14 children.
Oh, no.
But his corporate baby. People seem to think Tesla is so important to Elon Musk's bottom line, but actually he's kind of made sure that it isn't. Promises, promises. Now, where does that leave us going forward for Tesla as an investor, if you're thinking about investing in Tesla? Well, what you have right now is declining car sales growth and a lot of promises. But how much are these promises worth? I know some of them in the past.
Franz, could you try to break this glass, please?
Yeah.
Sure?
That was maybe too hard.
Oh my fucking god. Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
Yeah.
Tesla car next year will probably be 90% capable of autopilot. Like, so 90% of your miles will be on auto. We're probably only a month away from
I said 2013, 2014,
for
sure.
highways and for relatively simple roads. The Model S and Model X at this point can drive autonomously with greater safety than a person right now. We're still on track for being able to go cross country from LA to New York by the end of the year, fully autonomous.
End of the year.
For sure.
For sure.
Over 1 million robo-taxis on the road.
Next year, for
Promises,
sure.
promises,
2019.
promises.
I'm extremely confident of achieving full autonomy and releasing it to the Tesla customer base next year.
Damn, he was gaining a shit ton of weight. The stress of all the lies. Look, I'm not gonna say that it's not impossible to have high expectations and not being able to live up to them. I have them too, okay? But for me, it's like on a way smaller scale. When I'm telling people, for example, that I'm gonna make a certain video and that it gets delayed, it's understandable, okay? It doesn't affect your life that I'm not releasing content at a given time, okay? This is different.
When do you think Tesla will solve level 4 FSD?
I mean, it's looking quite likely that it will be next year.
These promises worked for a really long time, and for some people they still do. But investors are slowly but surely, politics aside, just not believing him so much anymore. And the lies are getting more and more grandiose to compensate. Whereas before he would just say, we have a great product coming next year, in air quotes. He's now openly talking about the stock price and saying, we might have 1,000% gain in the next 5 years. This is like from 5 days ago, 10 days ago. Even Wall Street Bets is calling it COPE.
Jesus.
It sounds like a made up number. It's ridiculous. On the recent Tesla earnings call, he said the following.
I see a path. I'm not saying it's an easy path, but I see a path for Tesla being the most valuable company in the world by far, not even close. There is a path where Tesla is worth more than the next top 5 companies combined. There's a path to that.
A path.
What path to being a
A path of exile? Fucking zinger. That was fucking bad, but I'm owning it.
$+ trillion company? Bigger than Apple, Microsoft, Google, Nvidia, Meta combined? It's delusional levels of stock pumping, and it's not working as well as it used to. And so,
Absolute
the only real
delulu.
concrete promises you're left with are around robo-taxis and robots. These need to come out soon and make a ton of money. He says robotaxis in the future, experts have doubts. They might come out, maybe. They might make some money, but will they make the billions and billions of dollars quickly that the company needs to even justify its current valuation, let alone grow without having any legal troubles? This is Ross Gerber again. When will the government allow FSD robotaxis to operate alongside human drivers? Who's liable for the accidents? Who will buy and operate them? Will they even make money or will they become a commodity? How will combination with Waymo drive prices up or down? Waymo, by the way, is currently ahead in this space. And for robots, it looks like the tech really isn't there at all right now. It seems like a really out there kind of promise. Now with the robots, again, he's just saying everyone's gonna want one. I mean, this part was really crazy. He said we could make $1 trillion a year in profit from Optimus robots. There could be 10 to 30 billion robots worldwide. There'll be a 2-to-1 ratio. Is any of this anywhere close to fruition? Is this just a guy on ketamine talking?
Yep.
Is there any hard math behind these numbers, or are you just saying what you want investors to hear to keep the stock up? I think before, a lot of people would say, I believe him. And I think now people are saying, wait a minute, maybe I don't.
This guy who stood very much forward and told advertisers, go fuck yourself. I don't understand how people keep falling for it.
Especially after what has turned out to be quite a massive debacle with the only recent product they've announced, which was the Cybertrucks, which despite arriving late, were still rushed out.
Yeah.
They malfunctioned at an astounding rate. They had delivery problems. They rusted. They're having corrosion. They're having returns. And now they're piling up on the lot. They're just not selling at the rate they thought they would. So all of this combines, and I say, what now? Where do we go from Tesla? Not about Elon, where does Tesla go from here? First of all, politically, I haven't seen this much backlash on a company, maybe ever. It's a coordinated global boycott / denouncing / the most recent example that's anywhere close is the Bud Light boycott by conservatives in America. That's because of the Dylan Mulvaney transgender Instagram post.
Yeah.
Again, Bud Light backtracked and had a fucking Shane Gillis out
yeah.
within a year, right?
Cool
Even
guy.
this is such a smaller thing, and Bud Light, cowardly or not, immediately backtracked. Tesla, to the other side, has done so much more for so much longer with no signs of slowing down. I don't think the brand is recoverable among like Europeans and Democrats, which again is like a large part of the EV buying audience. I sincerely believe that might unless there's such a massive tech advantage that people have to buy it, it feels like the brand is kind of poison, which makes it very hard to see the sales growth you want. By the way, Bud Light, despite being a much smaller controversy and lasting for much less time and only being in one country, still hasn't recovered. I can't imagine the amount of damage that's happening to Tesla right now. Now, there are attempts to rectify it. Donald Trump stepped in today and said to Republicans, conservatives, and all great Americans, Elon Musk is putting it on the line in order to help our nation, and he's doing a fantastic job. But the radical left lunatics, as they often do, are trying to illegally and collusively boycott Tesla. I would say vandalism is illegal, but boycotting is not illegal. You can't force someone.
Yeah.
You can't force someone to buy a Tesla. One of the world's great automakers and Elon's baby in order to attack and do harm to Elon and everything he stands for. They tried to do it to me at the 2024 presidential ballot box, and how did that work out? In any event, I'm going to buy a brand new Tesla tomorrow morning as a show of confidence and support for Elon Musk.
What are you saying? Okay, look, this dude was crying so bad in 2020. Even when you win, you aren't satisfied? What is wrong with you?
A truly great American. Why should he be punished for putting his tremendous skills to work in order to help make America great again? Trump is in his corner. Trump followed through on his promise.
I'm going to buy because, number one, it's a great product, as good as it gets. And number two, because this man has devoted his energy and his life to doing this. And I think he's been treated very unfairly by a very small group of people. So I just wanted to make a statement. I'm going to buy one. Now, here's the bad news. I'm not allowed to drive because I haven't driven a car in a long time, and I love...
Wait, didn't Adon Ross give him a Cybertruck? What happened to that one?
to drive cars.
So they had a Tesla auto show at the White House. With, I'm not kidding, a presidential ad read. This is Donald Trump's actual notes, where he listed off the sales prices of different different Tesla cars.
I didn't watch all of it through. I only saw it by glimpsing through a news article. Okay.
I get for Huel, but I don't think this changes much. While this may make some conservatives more endeared to Elon, I don't think they're gonna change their buying habits around EVs, nor will more chargers suddenly spring up in their neighborhoods. These efforts could simply continue the backlash by making it a more politically aligned company. And I think Elon is starting to understand this.
You giving up your other stuff? I mean, how are you running your other businesses?
With great difficulty. Yeah, I mean...
But there's no turning back, you're saying?
I'm just here trying to make government more efficient, eliminate waste and fraud, and so far we're making good progress, actually, so...
He looks like he's about to cry. I just don't think this is going to turn the tides on the sales. However, based on this, betting markets are seeing rising odds that Elon Musk might leave the White House this year in
I hope that none of you are writing mean comments about me right now.
response to increasing downturns at all of his companies. Outside of SpaceX, which can benefit from his Doge connections, everything else is getting hammered. And given that so many of his Twitter problems are backed up with Tesla loans, if that falls, the whole house of cards can be in trouble.
Yeah.
So we may see an about face from Elon Musk this year. But there's one final point that's worth talking about. Elon Musk, regardless of all this, is going to be fine. If Tesla went to zero, he'll be fine. He has SpaceX.
Yeah.
He has government connections. He's a billionaire probably till the day he dies. Who else has been buying Tesla stock hand over fist for the past 5 years as it now hits the skids? It turns out pretty much every American. Not just Wall Street Bets memers, pretty much every American with a 401k has been buying millions of shares of Tesla passively because it has such a big market cap weight in the S&P 500. Every ETF has been buying Tesla stock over and over and over at unsustainable highs.
Yeah, for those of you who might not quite understand what is going on there, all of those investment firms like BlackRock and Vanguard are companies that are investing the money of billionaires into different ventures. So like you might not directly buy shares from Tesla, but shares from Tesla would be used to, like, you might not directly yourself invest in Tesla, but whatever it is that you might be investing in comes from Tesla. If you
these problems aren't just Tesla's problems. As Elon Musk runs this company down and leaves without caring, like another child of his, the average 401k American is left holding the bag. This is dragging down the performance of everyone's retirement. And finally, I have to say, before you go and take this presentation and say, I'm gonna short Tesla, understand you're not the only one with this idea. When a company drops $800 billion in value in 3 months, people jump on the idea of shorting the company or buying puts. And once the idea gets too popular, a short squeeze is very easy. Yeah. Nobody knows what'll happen in the short term to any stock price. Please do not risk your savings when one tweet from Trump or one announcement from Elon could spike it up at least somewhat and ruin all of your bets. All I would say is, over the long run, unless you firmly believe that we're going to have a Tesla robot in every home and a robotaxi driving on every street, this company is not worth what it says it is. And that's going to become very apparent sooner rather than later. Thanks for watching Marketing Monday.
Dang. What an amazing presentation, by the way. Jesus, dude did the whole thing through a live stream, as he often does. I feel very sorry for anybody who, in like the best intention, were either trying to get an EV because they felt like environmentally conscious or just wanted to get a good, awesome car. Did not care about any of the controversies that this doofus might have been involved in, and or bought it in a time where he seemed kind of normal. I feel bad for you. And even more so for especially Americans, because this is hurting your economy the most. And of course for the rest of the world right now, because of just one dude's crash out who is trying to like funnel his way through so much else. Damn, it's wild. But that's why, again, that we don't let that much power being just consolidated with one person. That's why competition is important. That's why, regardless of how you look at it, right? I know that a lot of people are not too happy with like Chinese EVs and shit. At least that's what I've observed here in Denmark. There are some people who are not quite happy about Chinese cars, but it is an important thing to have in this economy. So we can't run away from that. But yeah, hopefully you like this reaction about the Tesla crash out and how it is of a biblical proportion. Fucking love that title, man. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I know that this might have been a little bit long, but that's what we do on this channel. That being said, I wish you all to have a wonderful day. Stick around for more gaming content in the future, and see you guys in the next one. Bye.